If you've been in the natural hair community for a while now, using cloves and rosemary for hair growth should not be news to you by now. Now, chances that you've tried or considered trying it are higher than average, but let me show you 3 different ways to make your rosemary and clove spray for insane hair growth. Now, first of all, you're going to be needing your rosemary. Rosemary contains anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. It also contains vitamin B6, iron, calcium, which promotes blood circulation in the scalp, stimulating hair follicles and improving healthy and stronger hair growth. You're also going to be needing your cloves. Cloves contains itchiness, vitamin K, which promotes hair growth and strength by improving the blood circulation in the scalp. Cloves also help to fight against dandruff, itchiness, and flakiness. Now, I use about 1 tablespoon of both my rosemary and my cloves. Now, for this very first method, you're going to be pouring hot water into both your ingredients, into your cloves and your rosemary. Now, for this method, you can also make use of cold water, but I prefer hot water. I always prefer hot water. Now, once you're done pouring in your hot water, the next thing you're going to do is to cover your mix and let it sit for 8 to 12 hours. Anything between 6 to 12 hours is fine. Sometimes you can even leave it overnight. Now, once your time has elapsed, you're going to notice a slight change in the color. The color is going to change from bright to a darker, a pale yellow. Okay, and that is it. That is all you need to do for this first method. Now, the next thing you're going to do now is to extract. Okay, and I'm going to be doing this using just a sieve. Now, I also use something like a cheesecloth, you can use a wig cap, you can use a stockings. Whatever it is you want to use, make sure it is very clean. Now, once you're done extracting, at this point, you can also choose to go ahead and add essential oils to your spray. It all depends on you. But for the purpose of this video, I am making it strictly my rosemary and cloves spray, my rosemary and cloves water. Okay, so do whatever works for you. You can go ahead and add your essential oils or not. Either way, it is also going to work. It is still going to work. Now, the next thing to do now is to transfer to a spray bottle. Now, if you're going to be using this as a hairspray, it is best you transfer to a spray bottle. But if you're using it as a hair rinse, you can just leave it as it is and just pour it over your hair. But when using as a hairspray, a leave-in hairspray, I will always advise you transfer to a spray bottle. And that is basically that for this first method, right? You don't have to do anything else. There is no big deal. It's just this simple. This first method is very, very simple. Okay. Now, if you have excess, go ahead and store in your fridge or just a cool place. But then make sure you do not store for anything more than 6 days. Once 6 days has elapsed, once 6 days has expired, go ahead and discard it and make a fresh one if you need to. For the second method, you're going to be using a pot or a pan for this. Whatever it is you have, you can make use of. Now, just like the first method, I'm also going to be using 1 tablespoon of my rosemary, the same 1 tablespoon I used for my cloves. That's the same thing I'm going to be using here. Now, it is very important to note that my quantities are not standard. Okay, you can add more, you can use less. So once I was done measuring out, I added water to my pot and then proceeded to boiling it. Now, I boiled on low heat. It is very important to boil on low heat. Since you're not making use of the double boiler method, you're boiling directly on heat. It is very, very, very important to boil on low heat. Now, let it sit and boil for 10 to 15 minutes on low heat, please. Note that I keep repeating it on low heat. You have to make sure, you have to keep checking your heat to ensure it is still on very low. Okay, low to medium, it's fine. After you're done boiling, the next thing to do is to let it cool. Now, you can choose to leave it in that same pot or in the same pan and let it cool. Just let it get completely cold before you proceed. Then bring it out and proceed to the first thing you did with the first method, the sieving method. Now, I also used my sieve for this one. As usual, you can go ahead and use your cheesecloth, your stockings, or your wig cap, whatever it is you used to sieve. It is totally fine. This is basically the only thing you need to do for this second method. And once we are done with this is what I have. Now, like I said earlier, you can choose to add your essential oils at this point. Although they are not mandatory, but some of these essential oils also help. So go ahead and add some if you want to, or if you have them. Okay, like I said, for the purpose of this video, I am not going to be adding any other thing. I'm just making it plain rosemary and cloves water. Now, as usual, transfer to your spray bottle and then it is ready for use. Now, like I said earlier, go ahead and store this in a fridge or a cool place, but then do not store for more than 6 days. If after 6 days and you still have any left, please discard it and make a fresh one. For this third and last method, we are also going to be needing 1 tablespoon of rosemary, but for this method I am going to be blending. And then for my cloves, I have my cloves in powdered form, so I'm not going to be adding it to this mix yet. I'm going to be adding it later on. Okay, once I'm done blending my rosemary, that is when I'm going to be adding my cloves. This is because my cloves is already in powdered form, so blending it again is totally unnecessary. But if your cloves is still in a solid state, you can go ahead and blend together with the rosemary. You can either blend to a fine powder or you give it a rough blend, the coarse blend. Either way, it is going to work. After I was done blending my rosemary, this is the point where I am going to add my cloves. This is the point where I'll be adding my cloves, and I added just 1 tablespoon of my cloves. Now, like I said earlier, my measurement or the measurements I've used in this video, they are not constant. You can go ahead and add more, or you can also add less. It all depends on you. Now, pour in hot water into your mix. Now, you can also use cold water, yeah, but there is something about hot water and sort of catalyzing the reaction. It helps to kickstart the reaction, okay? So once I was done pouring my water, I gave everything a quick mix. I gave everything a quick stir. And then the next thing to do is to cover and let it sit for 6 to 12 hours. Yes, let it sit for 6 to 12 hours. This is going to enable the ingredient, the nutrients in the ingredients to fully infuse into the water. So make sure when you want to try this, make sure you use an airtight container or an airtight jar. Anyone, just make sure it can properly close. Now keep this, let it sit for 6 to 12 hours. Let it sit overnight as long as you want. Just know that the longer you let it sit, the more it infuses. But anywhere from 6 to 12 hours is okay. Normally, I would have let mine sit for 12 hours, but for the purpose of this video, I let it sit for 8 hours, which is still within the time frame. If you have more time, you can let it sit for more, okay? So you can notice that once I stirred it up, the particles of my cloves and my rosemary all came up. Now, one thing I like to do before extracting is to let it sit again for a couple of minutes, just to get all those particles to fully settle again at the bottom, okay? Because I really do not need the particles, I just need the water, okay? Now I'm going to be using a wick cap for this. This is because a wick cap generally has even more tinier holes than the sieve. Now I'm going to gently pour this into my sieving cloth, into my wick cap, and then I was very careful not to let the bottom, which is basically the particles, the chaff, I was very careful not to let it get into the mix because I really do not want the particles escaping into our spray. Right? So once you're done with this part, go ahead and discard your chaff. You have no need for it anymore. And then that is all that. Now, once you're done with your extraction, once you're done with everything you need to do, I'm going to repeat it again. If you want, and if you have, go ahead and add your essential oils. Okay, but if you don't, you can just make it is totally fine like this. Okay, it is totally okay like this. Now transfer to your spray bottle, and then it is ready for use. Now let's compare the three sprays from the three different methods. Now the first visible thing you're going to notice is the color. The three of them do not have the same color. They do not have the same depth of color. You can see that one is obviously darker than one, which is obviously darker than the other. We have one lighter one, we have one darker one. Okay, so the three of them do not have the same color. Does this mean that one is more effective than the other? Not really. They are all the same thing. They are all the same thing, just different methods. Okay, so whichever one works for you, whichever one you have the time for, whichever one you try and it's convenient enough for you, go ahead and use that. You can see I picked just one just for that day. The other two I am going to use for different days of the week. Now go ahead and apply this generously to your hair, to your scalp, and to your strands. So every part of your hair. Talk about your edges, talk about the tips of your hair, talk about every part of your hair or whatever problem spots you have. Rosemary and Cloves spray is known to help tackle issues like hair loss, excessive shedding and breakage, hair thinning, dandruff, itchy scalp, bald spot, and loss of edges. Apply for 2 to 3 times in a week and massage into your scalp and hair. And do not forget to follow up with your moisturizing routine, because this spray can be really drying. So make sure you moisturize afterwards and avoid applying every day, so you don't totally dry out your hair. Now let me know in the comment section which of these methods have you been trying, or which one are you going to try. Thank you so much guys for watching. I hope you found this video really helpful. Please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down there in the comment section, share to people you think might need this video, subscribe to me if you're yet to subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.